now that everyone's had a week to digest the election results, a big question among Democrats is which path leads back to national relevance. Zohran Mamdani won in New York City by mobilizing young voters and activating the base. Other Democrats won by hewing to a more moderate line. Neither Mamdani nor other prominent winners like Abigail Spanberger focus much on social or cultural issues. So, Tara, should the National Party look for more moderate candidates and policies or take the more progressive Mamdani-esque route?
Neither one. What they should do is look for candidates who speak to the issues in their area. And that, if you look at each one of these races, Spanberger, Sherrill's, and Mamdani's, that's what they did. They looked at what are the needs of the people in our area. And affordability happens to be a national issue, but they focused that affordability issue on the areas that they lived in. Mamdani, affordability, very heavily focused on rental affordability. Housing, yes, but rental affordability. Sherrill, she looked at the fact that she has rural areas, small towns, and looked at what affordability meant for them. Focused heavily on affordability in terms of housing, but also in terms of groceries, because these are people with families. So that's more of what you need to do is and if you look at especially Sherrill's campaign, she heavily paid attention to what her constituents needed and getting people who were on the ground and understood those constituents to talk about those issues.
Yeah, we should point out, when you say Sherrill, you're referring to Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, elected to be the governor. New York City is not like any other place.
Well, there's another city like it, and that is Seattle. And Seattle just named Katie Wilson. She won, and she is a socialist. She was proposing many of the same policies that Mamdani was. But two other mayoral races, Detroit and Minneapolis, Democrats won, and they went middle of the road. And so I agree with Tara. The message of we need to deal with affordability is something that resonates throughout the country. How we solve it, the potential solutions, have to be tailored to what different areas of the country are willing to accept.
What I'm hearing here is even though he was progressive and he was still pushing the kitchen table issues, and so the more cultural and social aspects of this are.
Yeah, they went the way of the wind, and it's not to say that these issues were not important. They were, but I mean, we're here talking about the most fundamental principle of democratic governance, and that is you have to listen to the people. I mean, that's just the bottom line here. And in the run-up to the 2024 election, every time I heard Democrats say, abortion is number one, I wanted to just scream because all of the polls consistently showed that abortion was not number one. Climate policy was not number one. Again, to make the point, it's not that those issues are not important, but rather they were not important in that space and time to the folks. And in order for you to get there, right, Democrats have this tendency of sort of lecturing to people and telling them, this is what's right, here's what we need to do. Instead of trying that, try persuasion. Try good old-fashioned grassroots organization and making the case to the American public, because that is what democracy looks like.
You know, I will start with a simple MLK quote, and the quote goes like this: call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth within the country for all God's children. And if you actually do the poll that the old guard of Democratic Party like spineless Kumar would not do, they will find out that 15% of middle-income voters actually prefer democratic socialism over capitalism, and the word democratic socialism does not resonate in some kind of communist conspiracy anymore. It actually stands for a sort of economic security more akin to the New Deal tradition, and that's the kind of things that polls are showing. 70% of respondents in several polls said that the economic system, and I quote, is rigged in favor of corporations and the wealthy and need to be replaced. 67% 57% independents, 58% Republicans. So if the Democratic old guard does not understand that, just telling, kind of this race baiting, Islamophobic somewhere, a little bit, oh, communist, oh, Russia, oh, Stalin, those things don't work. The young people around me, I know for a fact, can see this in their eyes. They can look at the data and they see that the system is rigged.
I'm glad you mentioned look at the data and you quoted Dr. King, because to that very point, if you look at all of his writings, what they point toward is the ultimate aim of those protest activities. And what he said repeatedly is that they were aimed at raising public consciousness, at shocking the conscience to make the country as a whole understand what was happening in the South. The civil rights movement was an educational movement more than anything else, and that is why it worked.
But I have to disagree, Anirban. If you look at past attempts to make the tax system more progressive, you find that majority of Americans balk at that. And part of it is, again, I think that many of these lower income individuals sort of think of themselves potentially as being in these higher tax brackets and have rejected, I don't know why, but they have rejected attempts to significantly make our tax system more progressive.
Yeah, but I don't think that might have been the case, but I think the ground has shifted and many people don't think anymore that with a regular 40-hour job, they're going to go make...
Why were so many people willing to elect him when they knew that he was going to give this huge, massive tax cut to the wealthy? And there's more coming, by the way.